How does the amount that you've saved in your 401k account compare to others your age? Fidelity just released a report that I think you're going to find super interesting. So let's go for a walk and let's talk about this. So first, I want to encourage you to stay to the end, because not only does Fidelity share with us what the average account balances are, but they also share with us their recommendations on what multiple of salary you should have saved by age group. For instance, by the time you're 30, they say you should have at least 2 times your salary saved in 401ks. And stay to the end, because I'm going to share with you how Fidelity came up with those numbers, because there's important caveats that we all need to know about how they came up with the numbers, because this might be a good benchmark for you or it might not be. But for all of us, being able to compare how what we've saved compares to others with 401k balances is super interesting. And Fidelity is the 401k leader. They have more 401k money custodied with them than any of the other large brokerages. So let's start with the young people. Let's start with the 20-year-olds. So for average age of 20, the amount for people in their 20s, so 20 to 29, the average amount saved in their 401k is $15,000. The employee contribution into the 401k, the average person is putting in 7.5%. And Fidelity says the goal in your 20s is to have at least 1.2 times your salary. Now, I said earlier 2 times, and that's as you're approaching 30, okay? So this is for people, from 21 to 29, including people that are a month over 20 probably. So the numbers again, $15,000. That's not a lot of money, but these are folks that are just starting their career. Many people went to trade school or to college, and they're really getting their first real job where they're getting more than minimum wage or a multiple of minimum wage. So that's the number for people in their 20s. Now, as you approach your 30s, hopefully you've had several years of a good job. You've starting your career. You're building up your skill set, and Fidelity says the average person in their 30s, so this is 30 to 39, has $50,000. The actual number is $50.8 thousand. In this case, the employee is contributing a little bit more. It's 8.3% of their wages are going into the 401k. So that's approaching kind of the American rule of thumb of saving 10% of what you make. Now, spoiler alert, and regular viewers of the channel know this, I believe that most people need to be saving more than 10%. And I know it's aspirational, but I think the goal should be closer to 20% if you can make it happen. I have other videos that talk about some non-sacrificial ways that we can hopefully get there. And spoiler alert again, the simplest way for most of us is a lot of us spend a lot of money on our car. Could we buy a used car instead of a new car? Average person spends $900 a month. Average American spends $900 a month for transportation. That includes your car payment, insurance, gasoline, stuff like that. Could we get that down to $500, which would save us almost $5,000 a year, which average American makes $1,000 a week. So saving an extra $5,000 by bringing your car payment down, that would bring this 8.3% spending up to just under 20%. So give that some thought. So that's people in their 30s. Again, the number is the average person in their 30s from 30 to 39 has $50,000. They contribute 8.3%. And Fidelity says in this age range, by the time you leave your 30s, you should have at least 3 times your salary saved. So obviously the average person's not doing that yet. So between your 20s and the time you start 40, Fidelity says you should have 1 to 3 times saved, and the closer you get to 39, the closer you should be to the 3x number. Okay, just a quick aside, a lot of people are tempted to take 401k loans, take loans from their 401ks. In fact, it's almost 1 in 5, so it's 18%. Taking loans from your 401k, I'm not a fan of it. It can be hard to have the discipline to get that money back into your 401k. So if you can avoid taking a loan from your 401k, I would suggest it. Also, kind of public service announcement, there are 3/4 of employers now offer what's called Roth 401ks, where you can put the money into the account instead of pre-tax dollars. You put the money in after-tax dollars into your 401k. And then beyond that, it grows, the earnings in the account grow tax-free, and under current tax law, and hopefully it stays this way, under current tax law, you can take the money out tax-free. So 3/4 of it, employers offer that. If your employer offers it, think about doing it. And here's why. You know, you can put $22,000 a year in either a regular 401k or a Roth 401k, and if you're over 50, there's a $7,500 a year increase, kind of what they call a catch-up provision for those of us that might be behind, into our retirement account. So you can almost put $30,000 a year in your 401k. That's a lot of money. But think about it this way. Let's say you put in $20,000 into a regular 401k or a Roth IRA, Roth 401k. And the thing with the Roth, because you're paying the taxes ahead of time, the $20,000 is your $20,000. But because you're putting in with a regular 401k, you're putting money in pre-tax. Really, even though you're putting $20,000 in, let's say that you're in the 25% tax bracket, really $5,000 of that is the government's money and $15,000 of that is yours. So you're actually supercharging. And when you take it out, you're going to have to pay tax rate. You're going to have to pay ordinary income tax on that money on the way out. So the Roth is actually supercharging. You get more money, more purchasing power into your Roth 401k because all of that money is yours as opposed to it being taxed on the way out. So it is a way to kind of increase the after-tax dollars that you can get out of the account. Now, that increase comes from your money. You're putting it in. But it's a way to kind of, quote unquote, get more money in the Roth 401k. I think that makes sense. If you'd like me to do a separate video on that, just leave me a comment. By the way, leave me a thumbs up if you're finding this helpful. That really helps the algorithm find other people. So we talked about people in their 30s. Now let's talk about people in their 40s. The average person in their 40s, now we see a nice jump, right? In the 30s, it went from $50,000. Now we're a little over $120,000. $120,800. The average person in their 40 is contributing 8.9%. That's their contribution. And Fidelity says by the time you end your 40s, you should have 5 times your salary in your 401k. And again, stay to the end because I'm going to share where they get this that 5 times number. So in your 20s, it's 1 to 2 times. In your 30s, it's 2 to 4 times. In your 40s, it's 4 to 5 times your salary. And now let's talk about your 50s. And in your 50s, hopefully the account balance is now growing at a faster rate than you're putting money in. Now at $120,000, that's not going to be the case. But if by the time you enter your 50s, you have $500,000 or more in your 401k, it could very easily be growing at a rate faster than you can put money in, which is what we want, right? That's the goal. So in their 50s, Fidelity says the average person now has a little over $200,000 in their 401k, $203,600, what I call $205k. They're putting in a little bit more money, 10.4%. That's the employee putting in that money. Oftentimes, the employer will do a match. So likely between the employee and the employer, they're getting close to 15% of their salary put in a 401k, which is good. And Fidelity says by the time you leave your 50s, you should have 8 times your salary in your 401k. And what about 65? That's the age most of us retire. So at 65, Fidelity says by then you want to have 10 times your money. Now, let me circle back, by the time you are 65, Fidelity says you should have 10 times your salary in your 401k. Now, let me circle back to what I said earlier. How is Fidelity getting these numbers? You know, in your 20s, it's 1 to 2 times. In your 30s, it's 3 to 4 times. In your 40s, what was the numbers? I think 3 to 5 times. and in your 50s, 5 to 8 times, and then by 65, 10 times your salary. Where's Fidelity getting these numbers from? What Fidelity is doing, and this is in the report, what Fidelity is assuming is that people want to live off of 60% of their pre-retirement income. So if you were making $100,000 before retirement, what Fidelity is assuming is that you want to live on $60,000 a year. Not all of that is going to come from your 401k. Some of it's going to come from Social Security and other sources that Fidelity puts into the calculations. So I think that number is low. I think most people want to live on closer to 80% of their pre-tax income, and a lot of us would like to live on 100% of our pre-retirement income, I should say. So if you want to live, just for easy math, if you want to live on more, let's say you want to live on 1.2 times your pre-retirement income, then that would be easy math for me. Fidelity says you need 10 times your income, your salary to do that. But that's at 0.6 times your pre-retirement income. So if you want to double that, then obviously you would need 20 times your salary. So that's where the numbers come from. If you think you want to live on 80%, then your numbers would be a third higher than this, because 80% is a third higher than 60%. So if Fidelity is saying 10 times your annual income, if you want to live on 80%, then that would be 13 times, according to Fidelity. I think these numbers are low. You've heard me talk about the rule of 25. I think the rule of 25 is a lot easier to remember than 4%. 25 is just the inverse of 4%. So if you take the amount of money that you want, gross, including the money that you need for taxes, and you multiply that by 25, that gets you a ballpark of about how much money that you need to retire. But again, you don't want to take ballpark estimates. You want to know for sure, particularly when it comes to your retirement. You want as much clarity as you can. None of us can have certainty, right? We don't know how long we're going to live. We don't even know what tax rates are going to be at the end of this calendar year, let alone 20, 30 years in the future. So we can get a lot of clarity, but I think 25 gets you in the ballpark. Then work with, I would suggest you work with a fee-only financial advisor. You can find one by just Googling that term, fee only. Again, this is not financial advice. I don't know your specific situation, but what I do know is that these are good rules of thumb to get you going, and getting going is better than nothing. So this is financial education to give you the foundation to start doing some of your own research and find out what the right answer is for you and your family. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, do me a favor, hit the like button. It really does help the algorithm find other people. Leave me a comment. I do read the comments. I reply to a couple dozen every day. I hope I get to reply to yours soon. And until next time, I'm Azul, encouraging you to take full advantage of the youth of your senior years. Remember, you're only young once. Use your time wisely.